What's going on, everybody? So in today's quick lesson or training or guide or whatever you want to call it, we're going to kind of touch on how to stay consistent and how to put together some kind of framework or guide that you can take and use to help you stay consistent when life gets super busy and gets really unpredictable. So one of the things that I really noticed over the years when looking at nutrition and how it fits within someone's plan or program or just someone who's trying to feel better about what they're eating, it really comes down to a lack of implementation, not necessarily a lack of information. And in today's world, there's so much information out there and it's so easy to get. And sometimes it is just too much noise and it leaves you feeling more confused versus having more answers. So, what I want to really focus on is providing you with those action steps that you can take and something that you can apply as quickly as tonight's or your next meal tonight. So, you have a simple way and a simple approach to kind of create this idea of how to create healthy, nutritious meals and how to stay consistent no matter what situation you're in. So the goal for this is going to go over those action steps, provide you with the systems so that you know what to do in any given situation or context, and kind of again teach you and show you guys how to put together a healthy meal every single time it comes that it's time to eat. So most of the people who I see tend to be adults. You might be an adult looking at this and watching this, and now that I've gotten older in my life, I've known firsthand how much life can become unpredictable. So with that unpredictability and that chaos that happens with life, getting pulled in different directions, makes it harder and harder to stick to those nutrition goals. So we want to make sure is that we have some plan or some preparation or something in place to keep us kind of grounded and centered on what we're trying to accomplish. Because if we can't stick to them and we can't implement what we're trying to do, then the best ideas, goals, and plans doesn't really matter because it's not going to get done. So what we're going to cover in the next, starting with the next couple slides, is going to be frameworks that you can use around nutrition when you can use in any context, such as in between errands, when you get invited to a friend's house for dinner or lunch, or sometimes when you forget to go grocery shopping and you need to come up with something quick for dinner and you don't feel like going out and you really want to cook at home. So everything that we're going to go through here is going to help you kind of implement those basic principles of nutrition no matter what's going on in your life. So when we're talking about what is a plan is something that you put together that prevents you from getting thrown off track. A lot of times people have these big ideas, they have these dreams, they have these goals, but unless something is kind of put down there, then in my honest opinion, sometimes those thoughts are just thoughts and it really doesn't get brought to life unless something actually gets planned out and you start thinking of how can I turn this into a reality. And when it comes to planning and nutrition, I think a lot of people immediately go to meal prepping every single meal perfectly portioned out, stacked up neatly in a fridge in those clear and black and clear containers. But in reality, a lot of people, maybe even yourself, may not be able to dedicate 4 to 5 hours on a Sunday to cook all that kind of food, especially if you are in a period in your life where things are happening all at once and there's just a lot going on. So what you can do instead that might be more realistic, more practical, but also can be equally as effective is going to be taking like 5 minutes or less just to start planning something out. And this could be something as simple of take about something as simple as taking 5 minutes on a Saturday or Sunday to be like, what dinners do I want to have next week? It can be as simple as what lunches do I want to have? What snacks do I want to have so I can be better prepared for the times when I'm hungry in between meals? Might need to be planning out when you can go and get some shopping done, whether it's ordering it online, getting it delivered, picking it up, or taking the full, time to go do everything all by yourself at the store. Plan out when you have the time to cook. I think when you look at a calendar, it might feel like there's no time, but once things start falling into place, you might see where you have pockets of, time where you can do, this or that, and that might be an opportunity for you to dedicate a couple minutes to cook something for dinner that night or for lunch or something. But the biggest thing is you don't have to start with these big, meal planning cooking sessions that take hours and hours, something as simple as 5 minutes to plan ahead can be a really big, have a really big effect and can impact you guys probably more than you realize. So the next step is really going to be, how do you prepare yourself based off your plan? This is where I would recommend you start with whatever that step one in your plan is. So, for example, if you know you want to have, chicken for dinner on Monday and Wednesday, step one might be, how do you go ahead and get that chicken? You have to dedicate some time to go shopping, order it. Do you have to make some lunches the night before? Do you have to cook in bulk so you have things that are easy access to do? I think a few weeks or about a month ago, I put out that one email about, cooking your ingredients in bulk rather than meal prepping everything. So if you know there's going to be a lot of chicken that you want to have, cooking, 4 or 5, chicken thighs or chicken breasts or whatever it could be ahead of time can be a great way to kind of get ahead of the game and make it easier for you during the week. If you do know you have some dinners coming up with friends, family, take that time to just look ahead to see what's the options are available at that restaurant, at the menus. Some other questions that might help guide you from a preparation standpoint for the week is going to be, do you have a protein source in the fridge? Is it some kind of chicken? Do you have some ground turkey, some ground beef? Do you have vegetables washed and ready to eat if needed? Is there fruit ready to access? Or do you have to maybe prepare these things by setting aside some time to cook and shop for the week? So once you know kind of what your plan is, you can kind of prepare yourself for that plan by, just seeing what's the first step that you have to do. The reason why I'm such a big fan of having options at your disposal is because it give you a backup plan. Life is always going to do something at some point or another that throws you off, and that's going to kind of try and derail you from whatever your nutritional goals are so that you can accomplish your bigger picture goal. But when you have a set of options in place and you have that backup plan, it allows you to make the best choice you can given the situation or given the context that you're in. So, for example, let's say you are at a restaurant that you've never been to before. By looking ahead at the menu, you have certain different options that are going to check the boxes of protein and vegetable and some kind of whole grain carbohydrate. Maybe it's you're working late at night. If you're working late at night, you might be missing dinner at home with the family, but you still need to have something. Take a look at what options do you have around you. Do you have something where you can control the order of your food, such as like a Chipotle, or is it something that's more processed, like something that you're getting at a vending machine, or something that might be more on that fast food kind of scale? So when you know what to look out for, and if you know how to utilize these options, you might be surprised at how much more effective you can make healthier and smarter choices that are more aligned with your goals. A couple of just foundational things that help us create more options is sticking to the kind of basic tenets, if you will, of good, healthy nutrition. Sticking with more minimally processed foods, avoiding the ultra processed foods, making sure that there's a quality source of protein there, making sure there's some kind of vegetable in a meal, making sure you're opting for something that might have some fiber in it or something that's going to be, that whole grain so you can get that full balanced plate. So these are things that I would definitely keep in mind, and that can help expand your decision making, thinking when you're trying to figure out what can you do and in a situation that has, it's not what you're used to. So I'm a big fan of providing examples. I think it helps connect the dots. So this is what something like this could look like in real life. So it's 1 p.m. on a Wednesday, right? You're trying to figure out what to decide for dinner. It could be as simple as, hey, what do you want to have for dinner? It could be something as saying, hey, let's have steak, potatoes, and quinoa for dinner, something like that. Just have that conversation about the topic, and then take that next step. So now you have the plan. Okay, figure out within that plan what needs to be done in order to make that happen. So does someone need to go shopping? Do you have to pick something up on the way home? Do you know how to make the food that you want to have? And these are things from that preparation standpoint and that preparation phase where you're going to be able to just kind of put that plan into motion and make sure you have everything set up so that you can do it to the best of your ability. And next up, it's good to have an idea of what options are out there, right? We just covered that in the last slide, but these options are going to be what you're going to use to create that healthy meal that's going to be able to be created or had or purchased in any given situation. So let's say you want, let's say, chicken, and the chicken's all gone bad at the grocery store, so you need something else. Simple swap would be putting in something like fish or steak or some kind of plant-based protein like a tofu or tempeh sort of things. And what's also important about this is this gives you the flexibility to adjust your choices, but still keeps you in line with what your goals are so that you can consistently kind of have those healthy meals that are aligned with what you're trying to accomplish, no matter what's going on in life. So this may look familiar to some of you, but this is going to be how to create that perfect meal in about 5 steps. One, we want to pick a protein. Start with protein. It's going to fill up a majority of the plate, especially if you think back to the last lesson that we went over when it came to how to build and balance out your plate. So we have our pick a veggie, right? Maybe it's 2, right? We want to get that fistful of vegetables within that plate. Pick a smart carbohydrate, something that's not necessarily refined. So something like a sweet potato, baked potato, or something that is at the very least minimally processed. You want to pick your healthy fat. So olive oil or butter. Be cautious of some of these things from a portion standpoint, because remember, they do pack on a lot of extra calories because fat is very calorically dense compared to protein, vegetables, and carbohydrates. Then add that flavor that's going to spice it up a little bit. So spices, seasoning, sauces, marinades. This is where you can kind of make that food a little bit more exciting and a little bit more appealing, as opposed to kind of being bland and dull that might not be as appetizing for you to want to have. So in summary, the goal of this quick lesson here in training was to provide you with some simple framework that you can do so that you can stay consistent with your nutritional goals. This is going to be something you can start with by just taking 5 minutes or less just to jot some ideas down and prepare yourself to put that plan into action by deciding what are the steps that you have to take in order to turn that plan into a reality. When you are stuck when it comes to trying to create any kind of meal when you're on the go in a different environment, follow those 5 steps, because those are 5 check marks that you can check off to make sure that you're on the right track. A protein, a vegetable, a whole food or whole grain kind of carbohydrate, some kind of healthy fat, and having that balanced plate that we went over last time. And remember, or 2 times ago. And remember, it's perfectly acceptable and okay to be good enough rather than trying to be 100% perfect. So what I want to caution people with is not making the decision and the choice that's good enough, because it might not be perfect. That all or nothing mentality is something that makes it a little bit more harder. So I'm speaking to as much people as I can here as a reminder to be good enough is perfectly okay. And good enough is going to be able to help you kind of moving that goal needle forward in the direction that's going to help provide you with that outcome you're looking for. So if you're finishing up with this and you have any questions, or if you want some more guidance on how to take some of this information and apply it into your specific programs or life or anything, goals or anything like that, shoot me a message. You guys can always text me or email me, whatever is best for you guys. And then I will see a lot of you guys throughout the week.